we had palatal erosion, we had really difficult details. The last spastic case, this is a young lady. So let's see some cases now with spastic veneers on refractory. First case, he's a young man, he has an accident. So he broke the lateral and central, 12 and 12 years and 11. And then with the dentist made some composites, but with this opportunity, he wanted to correct his smile line. As you can see in the right photos, there is an inclination of the axis and inclination of the occlusal plane according to the eyes. So he wanted to correct this and to make it more symmetrical. Initial situation. And we decided to make this case with feldspathic ceramic on refractory. This is the alveolar model. The refractories with the preparations. And first we do the foundation, the wash bake, in order to have a good connection of the ceramic with the refractory material and to avoid bubbles and some air between ceramic and refractory. We bake this material, and then we start with opacious body to correct the sizes, the opacity. So when we miss, like here, volume, we use the opacious body to apply the same volume like the symmetric central and laterals. So we try to do the same situation. We are trying to apply symmetry. We proceed with dentine, cut back of dentine, cervical translucent, and then bluish interproximal, opalescence in the middle in order to apply more illusion of depth, mamelons. We form the mamelons, we apply some whitey spots and some opacity spots, and we modify the opacity of the mamelons. Then some bluish opalescence between them. And then we cover all these details with pure transparent. Some yellowish incisal, secondary cervical translucent, more transparent, and then we apply a little bit more value, especially the line angles, with more value enamels and lustres in the middle. And this is the results. It was, he requested natural appearance with some cracks, some details. He didn't want like a white tetragonal teeth. He wanted to be his teeth to be natural with a natural looking appearance. And this is the portrait. And his video.
We decided to aim for something extremely life-like, or something that would be we wouldn't call something unexpected from my mouth. And I think that the results were exactly the same. But we were both discussing that we wanted, and everybody's impressed with the results. Nobody understood the thing. So I guess we were right and we were on the same page.
And An interesting case also with feldspathic veneers. It's a young person with quite light color here. We had to make a semi-crown, semi-veneer crown processes in 21, but as well here it was a diastema between centrals. So we decide to close this diastema as well. Alveolar model with refractories. And the biggest problem, let's say problem, for this case, it was the amount of opalescence here, this central. Very light color, bleach color, but at the same time, a lot of translucency and a lot of opalescence here, but with high value. So bleach, high value with a lot of translucency. So refractories, dyes, and then the first thing that we had to do, it was to correct the missing part of the 21 central. So we use pure transparent for foundation, and then I used opacious body to extend and to apply opacity, the missing opacity, and then secondary opacious body. It was opalescence, opacious body. So I mixed like 50-50 opacious body with opal in order to make the last part of the opacious body a little bit more opalescence. We bake it, you can see the difference here. We have the opalescence, and then the last 1.5 millimeter, it's more opalescence and more translucency. Then we proceed with cervical translucent. We start first with cervical translucent. I will explain you why later. It was very important for this case to achieve chameleonism. So we start first with a clear cervical translucent, then dentine, then secondary dentine, opalescent dentine. So we do the same with dentine. Dentine mixed 50% with opal material in order to apply more opalescence. At the same time, we start to layering the partial veneer for the 11 central. The blue in the middle and opalescence around the dentine. Primary micromamelons inside. And then up to the opalescence material. We cover it with enamel, and then we cover everything with pure opalescence transparent, LTX, or Noritake, EX3. Halo effect, and then ELT2 is a more bright enamel to the line angles. So we need to keep the brightness high because as a young person has a lot of value, okay, a lot of translucency, but the value still remains in high level. We finish, we bake, we grind the case, and we create the final macro and micro surface, macro morphology and micro morphology surface texture. And then do the first dry-in. What is important here is this. Can you see in the natural central, we can see a little bit pink color in the cervical area. Here it's not pink. Yes, because we didn't place it yet in the final position. But when we place it in the final position, you can see almost we get the same pink color. It is what I told you before about chameleonism. So we need to create the situation in this area, the most difficult area when we have to deal with a single central, in order to get and to have chameleonism, to get the colors from cervical preparated tooth and soft tissue, and to be more adaptive. Going back, and forward, and you can see now becomes more pink, like the natural central. It's quite difficult. Seems easy, but it's not. Maybe you need only 5 powders, but for me it's the most difficult single central. Very bright, young, with a lot of translucency and opalescence. And the last feldspathic case, she's a young lady as well. She had these composites here, and she wanted to replace them and to replace the aesthetic for anterior teeth. But the most important here, the most impressive here, she's around 25 years old, but she has black triangles, open cervical areas. It's not so often this for a very young person like this. So initial situation, okay, seems like the case, just to make 4 veneers. We decided to make 4 feldspathic veneers, but it was an additional problem. In the palatal surface, it was an erosion of these 4 teeth. Do you see erosion? So we had palatal erosion, we had facial problems, so it was something kind like okay, indication about crowns. But because she was young, and because we didn't want to grind a lot her teeth and to keep all the properties, the biomechanic properties of her teeth, we decided to make 2 parts restoration. So here you can see the palatal surfaces without any grinding. Hopefully it was enough palatal enamel, especially to the margins, for good cementation. So, and hopefully it was enough space with the antagonistic teeth. So first of all, we decide to make monolithic palatal veneers, only palatally, in order to restore, first of all, the palatal surface. We press them and then we cement them. So we finished with a palatal surface. Then new preparations for the facial surface and new impression, and then we proceed to make 4 feldspathic veneers on refractories. Alveolar, almost the same procedure, dentine, secondary dentine, more fluorescence, more bright. We form the dentine, opacious body, cervical translucent, then bluish opalescence in the proximal, T-blue and mamelons, pure transparent takes, and then details with the incisal yellow and lustres. ELT2, halo effect, white powder, and this is the result with just 1 firing 2 months after cementation. But for me, what is impressive in this case is this. Look how it was before, the black triangles, and how it looks now without any black triangles, nothing. We didn't make any surgery, nothing of perio. The only thing, it was like we changed the orientation, the position of the contact surface, and also we create new emergence profile in order to push the papillas, to create lateral push of the papillas, and to make more, to apply bra effect on the papillas, so we get higher papillas. Lateral views. And the final portrait of the young lady. And let's see some zirconia cases now. Restoration, one single central, really, I can say difficult, a lot of details. So I decided to make this case not with one bake technique. It's not possible to make this case with one bake technique. I decided to combine one bake and internal stain technique. So first of all, we start with the design of the framework. As you can see here, we have some concavities and some support to the incisal edge, and also we decide to make the subgingival part and the palatal part of the palatal surface pure monolithic, especially the subgingival part, and contact with the soft tissue to be monolithic. Trying the framework, and then we start to apply ceramic. First of all, we do some internal stain for the framework, opacious body incisally and cervical to the cervical area. We apply also cervical to the line angles, and then dentine, cervical translucent, cut back details with some opalescence materials, mamelons, more violet gray distal, and then we cover everything with pure transparent TX. Some internal cracks, and then some externally more thin and smaller. And we bake the ceramic and then reduce, and we did some internal staining. Finally, we apply again second bake and with lusters, and we finish the final morphology. And this is the final restoration. Really difficult details. And a large case that we did with postgraduate department of University of Chicago. The patient, the initial situation, as you can see, he lost a big amount of vertical dimension of occlusal. He extract all the teeth, and they put implants to the upper palladium, gold palladium PFM. So we finished we decided to make the upper with PFM, but the lower, it was only 4 implants, and they request also PFM and with gold and palladium. So when I designed the case, I saw that it was a big framework. So to cast this framework with palladium, gold palladium, has to be very expensive, heavy, and of course with maybe some distortion of the cast and maybe some porosities of the shrinkage of the ceramic. So I asked them, can we make it with zirconia? And they said, okay, do it with zirconia, no problem for us. So, and you can imagine, if you have to design a big framework like this, big amount of material, you have to be very careful, especially in case like this, that it's screw retained case, and there are some holes, and these holes are some weak areas that you interrupt the material. So we use the diagnostic setup first of all, and then cut back in the software. So we had the maxillary and mandibular frameworks, and then we apply ceramic, and as I told you, the correct amount of ceramic, not just a little, not a lot. We finish also the ceramic for the soft pink tissue. And this is the final mandibular case. An occlusal, and we cement the titanium interfaces, the TI base. We check the function, protrusion, and canine protection. And this is the final restoration. So when we have big cases of zirconia like this, we need to be careful, not only to apply aesthetic, not only function, but we need to be careful how we will treat the materials, bake schedules, time, of course, morphology, surface texture, shape, color of pink aesthetic, and layering of pink aesthetic and white. It's very important, but also depending the case, we need to choose sometimes to use some monolithic, maybe occlusal surfaces, like here, as you can see, second molar. It's not necessary to apply ceramic. Monolithic, it's okay for second molar. Aesthetic is good and more strong. And as you can see in this case, we get some cracks, and we didn't deliver this case. We didn't place the case in the mouth. So it was a laboratory mistake. It was the bake schedule wrong. So it was a lot of stresses that finally made some cracks, and all these cracks, as you can see, finally goes where are the holes, because the holes are the weak areas. So always when we have big cases, especially with these sensitive materials, we need to change the firing schedules, because we will make some problems and then we will complain about materials, but the problem is not the material. The problem is our technique. And of course, if you have a big case like this, it's not possible to bake it like 3-unit bridge. You need to apply totally different parameters. So single centrals, zirconia cases, we need to realize chroma, hue, opacity, value, translucency, opalescence, transparency, details, function. And of course, when we have ceramic or whatever abutments, it's good to make a try in the patient's mouth in order to see if it is good fit and there is good support to the subgingival part, subgingival peri-implant part, because the pink aesthetic is very important as well, and the condition of the peri-implant soft tissue is very important. Different single centrals with different stratification, all of them are different. Different situations, different layering, different map every time. Single centers are like fingerprints, are very unique. And when we need to apply more details, we know a lot of techniques. You can use internal stain technique, more controllable and safe, like this, in this single central. To apply this horizontal and vertical crack, it's not possible. You need to control this. So you need to modify your technique. At the end, let's see a video how we design a zirconia framework. The software